And hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. I can't quite believe what I just seen last night on BBC Question Time. The BBC planted illegal migrants within inside the audience panel. Now again, Yusef was there, obviously the chairman of Reform. You had the Green Party leader, Zach Palensky, and a host of other sort of party representatives. But quite a weird approach for the BBC. I mean, the keyword illegal immigrant, and they are sitting in a audience panel. You can't quite make this stuff up, but regardless, it did make for good viewing, and we're going to be watching and reacting to this as Yusef just says, yep, we need to deport them, despite them being sat there. I'd like to see it from the Reform chairman, but without any further ado, guys, let's have a watch and react to this. But as always, please do hit the like button and hit the subscribe button for more. So firstly, guys, this is the first one. As stated, the BBC planted an illegal migrant in the BBC Question Time series audience, as Yusef tells him to his face that Reform UK would absolutely deport him.
Well, actually, we have some men in the audience who came over on small boats and are former asylum seekers. So since you mentioned that, let's hear from one of them. So, Ashraf, where are you sitting? Ashraf, there you are. Can you just, so you came over from Afghanistan on a small boat in the last 4 or 5 years, I think.
Yes, I come from Afghanistan.
So, was the UK where you wanted to claim asylum, and did you try and claim asylum in other countries on the way?
I applied for asylum. I was a refugee, and I passed many interview in different countries.
So tell us which country did you try to claim asylum in?
My first interview was in Turkey, and the second one in Macedonia, in Serbia, in Romania, Austria, and recently in Germany, but that ain't in here.
So you applied for asylum in all those countries, what, and they all turned you down?
These countries just reject me, and they didn't accept me.
So what do you say to the woman here who says, why is it the men that are coming, and what about their families? Why did you come on your own, and what about the fact that so many men are coming?
Everybody knows my country is not safe for us. We have a war, about 15 years we are living in a war. Because of that, just we come here, and I just want to leave, and because of that I come here.
So Zia, when you hear a story like that, for example, do you think that someone like Ashraf, despite the fact he's fleeing a war, and there are many wars around the country, in fact, you know, can't take everybody, they shouldn't be able to come?
Yeah, well, I don't know enough about that particular individual story, so
no,
I'll
sure,
comment more broadly.
But in terms of the principle
I think
of it.
in terms of broad strokes, let me be clear. If you're entering a war zone, it's generally men first. If you're fleeing a war zone, it's generally women and children first. And the vast majority of the people coming to this country via the English Channel illegally are men. That is a statistical fact. And when people talk about language, I don't know what language people are objecting to. I'm dealing with statistics, I'm dealing with data, and I think that's a sensible way to formulate policy. And I think we should use language clearly. I think we should use language accurately and fearlessly.
Okay, but just to be specific, Zia, because the Reform policy is to deport all illegal immigrants in the UK within 5 years. So that would be, I mean, these are real people, that would be someone like you. And that's what you're saying, right? Okay.
If you are in this country illegally, let me be crystal clear. If Nigel Farage is our next Prime Minister, and that's obviously what we're working to deliver, if you're in this country illegally, you will be deported back to the country from which you came. Over 170,000 people have arrived in this country illegally since 2018. Most of that work was done by the Tories, sadly, and that is more people than arrived on the beaches of Normandy on D-Day. I have used the word invasion before, and people might object to that term, but the dictionary definition of an invasion is an unwanted incursion into a space of land. And I don't know what to describe it. 170,000 people arriving. By the way, what are the countries from which they are coming? They're coming from Syria, they're coming from Afghanistan, they're coming from Iraq, they are coming from Iran. Not countries that have a track record of having Britain's interests at heart. The British state exists to serve the British people.
Yeah, so again, I think Zia talks absolute sense there, and I see what the BBC are trying to do. They're trying to, of course, get the violins out for these individuals and sort of bring them in there for a sort of sob story. Now, people that follow Zach Palensky would be all over this, but again, At the end of the day, that one in particular individual could have a fairly decent story and could actually be, escaping persecution, but there is legal routes. And the fact that he got rejected from 7 different countries tells you everything that you need to know, in my personal opinion. But the fact of the matter here is, BBC can roll out any, they can bring out individuals and say that this story happened, but we know that the vast majority of these individuals are coming from safe countries, that is France, especially the small boat migrants. Under reform, I don't think they're going to be scrapping asylum claims for genuine, people, like Ukraine, for example. But the Ukrainians go about it in the correct way. I don't see a Ukrainian who are actually fleeing war come over on a small boat, I don't think, that's the case. There's already legal routes in place. Let's have a listen to the next small boat migrant that confronted a list of reasons as to why Britain should not leave the ECHR.
So the man in the white shirt, now I know you came over on a small boat. Am I right about that?
Yeah.
What's your response to what you're hearing? Because obviously everyone is talking about people like you.
Well, let me say something first. I just want to clear that leaving the convention doesn't just affect the migrants. It would give ordinary people one less court, to protect their rights. Even for weekend checks and the government power risk on peace settlement in Northern Ireland and damage our security cooperation.
Let me ask you about your situation. Since we were talking about immigration in this program today, we thought, and we will be talking about people like you, we would see if there were 2 or 3, 4 people who wanted to come along who are in that situation, and I know you are. So you, because I talked to you beforehand, you came from Iran. I just wonder what you think of this idea, because one thing that the government is talking about is if, and a number of parties are, if the countries are safe, they become safe once you have left them, in your case, Iran.
Okay.
Would you be then happy to go back?
Well, there's 2 points which we need to take care about them. First of all, physically, if Iran is safe, the regime change, there is a regime change in Iran, that's safe for people like me to go back to Iran. But the second thing which we need to take care about it is, for example, for me, I have a 4-month-old daughter, so she born here, and she's growing up here. She will growing up here, learning English, learning how to read and write English, and she won't know how to read and write Farsi or even speak Farsi.
So you wouldn't want to go back with your family?
Yeah, even after, let's say, after 5 years, a government from Mr. Zia reform, which came originally from a migrant family, came tell me to go back to your country. What will happen to my daughter? Do you think this is
I'll happily answer that question. My parents came here legally. They did not come here illegally. And look, there's a clear dividing line in British politics. If you're watching this at home and you want to vote for a party that will prioritise the interests of foreign nationals who came here illegally, or do you want to vote for a party that are going to prioritise British citizens who work hard, set their alarm clocks in the evening before going to bed, and toil to pay tax money?
That is not the dividing line. That is not the dividing line in British politics right now.
Do you know how much money the British
taxpayer
had to pay?
There are other choices available.
Do you know how much money the British taxpayers had to pay for universal credit payments alone for foreign nationals last year? That was £10 billion.
Do you know how much an asylum seeker gets a week?
Hang on, if you're talking, no one can hear.
£49 a week. £49 a week. This is what this man wants to take off you.
British taxpayers will be spending half the forecast defence budget on universal credit alone for foreign nationals. There's nothing about that that's remotely acceptable, and I'm sorry, we will stick up for British citizens who paid their taxes.
Some of those panel members just haven't got a clue. And I see this argument happen all the time. It's like, oh, well, what about you, Zia? What about certain other individuals that didn't come from this country? Well, the key word here is illegal. What I always say with the left, they can identify about 1,000 different genders, but when it comes to illegal and legal migration, they can't differentiate the two. If you come in legally, you're not going to get deported, are you? If you come in and you have the right to be in the country, you didn't come on a small boat, you came in legally, you have no worries. He's not saying that no one can move to the UK. He's saying the people that came over on small boats and are living in the country illegally. The key word there, illegally. I just don't know why the left gets so infuriated by that statement. I just don't understand it really whatsoever. And quite frankly, it's super shocking that they just can't differentiate between the two. But yeah, this is the BBC, of course, trying to play into it. He said yesterday, we said Nigel Farage, of course, go ham on a BBC reporter. The mainstream media trying to do their best to demonise the Reform Party at this moment in time. We're seeing it in real time. Of course, trying to bring up bogus claims or alleged claims of racism from Nigel Farage from 49 years ago. They're getting pretty desperate now. They're trying to play on the heartstrings of the people by putting one Afghan illegal migrant and one Iran illegal migrant into a panel to share their story. Whilst their stories may touch the hearts of many, who knows? The vast majority of them don't. They are economic migrants. Guys, do let me know your thoughts on this down there in the comment section below. Hit like, hit subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next one. Take care. Peace.